Well, this is what we expected. I wrote over a year ago that there was a good chance Jack Smith would never see the inside of a courtroom for a trial in this case. It made this election the largest effective jury verdict in history by reelecting Donald Trump. The special counsel found himself at odds with his own department's longstanding policy against the prosecution of a sitting president. But Smith did not go quietly into that night. I expect that he did get a lot of different opinions, hoping for the right one. But the OLC, this office that handles such questions, has long taken this position. So it would be doubtful that they would change it here. But, you know, Smith had a sort of a gratuitous end to his term. You know, he pushed not only for a trial before the election, and he pushed for months for that, but he also released damaging information before the election, something that many people saw as an effort to influence the election. Smith knew that if Trump won, he was out of a job. And this release of the information was entirely unnecessary. The judge admitted that it was procedurally irregular, but she went along with it. And I think that that did tarnish his position, and certainly in history, because he didn't have to do that. He had become so absolutely fixated on trying Trump before the election that he lost credibility, I think, with the courts. He went up to the Supreme Court. They didn't accept that that was the overriding consideration in looking at these legal issues. I think it's also very important to remember that Smith's case was riddled with constitutional problems. You know, when the Supreme Court reached its immunity decision, it was clear that he would have to pare down his indictment. He really didn't do it to the degree he needed to do. He took a very minimalist approach. He removed a few references, a few witnesses that stemmed from the first Trump presidency. But he largely just repackaged it. And some of us said that we thought that it was not enough, that if he ever did go to trial, he could be reversed just on that basis.
I want to bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane. He has been covering developments in this investigation and the other cases pending against Donald Trump since the beginning. Scott, in layman's terms, what does this mean?
This historic case against Donald Trump for allegations he tried to conspire to overturn an election and with ties to that horrific attack on the Capitol January 6th. That case is dying with a whimper today. A 6-page narrow filing from the special counsel saying can't charge a president or try a president for a crime when he is the president. In the words of Jack Smith, it's an undue burden on a future President Trump to have this criminal prosecution. What's more, and what's particularly noteworthy in this filing, Nancy, is Jack Smith says we can't even hold this in abeyance until 2029 and the end of his second and final term, that's too much of a burden on a president, too. This case must be dismissed, Jack Smith argues. No doubt Donald Trump's team will agree to this dismissal. It goes back to the D.C. federal judge who's navigated this case for 16 months, Tanya Chutkan, to decide whether to accept this dismissal. There's no indication in any of this case so far she would do anything but follow what the prosecutors recommend.